What's going on, guys? Zedd here, bringing you my Day 1 Tekken 8 Claudio guide. It's quick, it's easy to retain, and basically the idea is I just want to get you started if you're new to Tekken, new to 3D fighters, new to Claudio, or you just want to kind of get a grasp of like, okay, what's this character all about? I'm hopefully going to deliver that to you in this video. The name of the game is Conciseness and Brevity, so I'll be going through these sections as we go through. This is the document you see on screen. It'll be linked in the description below if you'd like to follow along and or read it for reference in the future, as there will be additional details that I do sort of just gloss over. Without further ado, let me hide my face, get in game, and I'll see you there. Claudio is a very fundamental character in general. He relies on more neutral control, space control, and keeping the opponent at bay rather than flashy mix-ups or knowledge checks or stances, as he doesn't have any of those things. He's very simple, he has a tiny moves list, and he has a very simple game plan. Basically the idea is smack them with your long limbs and keep them at bay until you want to turn it up to 11 and go in with the infamous Ada attack, or his while running 2. If you're used to zoners or keep out characters from 2D games, he plays very similar to these things. In a 3D landscape, obviously the rules are a little bit different, but if you're used to that style or more defensive play, you're probably going to feel right at home with Claudio, to be totally honest with you. He doesn't really have any execution either. A few of his combos that use heat or starburst do require a simple step mid-combo or micro dash, which in Tekken 8 is quite easy to execute compared to other fighting games or even Tekken 7. So it shouldn't be too bad if you're concerned about execution. The idea is he often uses a high or mid to get in, those typically being while running 2, is Ira, right, also a heat engager, or forward 4, boom, like that. Those are your two typical get in options. His pokes are good for range, such as down forward 4, just as an example, but the frame data on his pokes leaves a lot to be desired in general, as he doesn't have a typical down forward 1 either. Instead, he's relegated to using back 3 knee, and while on hit it's alright, on block you can see -4, and the follow-up is not very good in this game compared to Tekken 7. He has pretty solid chip damage when in heat in general. The main one you're going to end up using is back 4-1 and Ida as well. Those two things alone, whether heat or not, do chip, and so they're good to know and keep in mind. And in general, if you like keeping people far away, playing a little bit slower, using keep out and conditioning, as in neutral conditioning, he'll really suit your style. But if you're all about going fast-paced, right, high-low mix all the time, right, do I go low, do I go mid, and, you know, or if you like good throw game, he doesn't really have any of that. His lows and throws are pretty awful in general. Because he has such a small moves list and very little to no mix-up, it does end up being a bit predictable, and a lot of Claudio players end up looking the same, so it's really more up to the pilot rather than the character. Some people may argue that Claudio carries the player with a mid such as back 1, but I disagree, because if you're used to fighting this character, you know exactly what he does to a T, and you don't have to spend any time in the lab to figure it out. So it really does fall on you to figure it out, work it out, and navigate him the way that you see fit. That said, where he does shine and have real mix is at the wall, but that's going to be very much glossed over in this, as I'm just looking to get you set up and started with the character, as more advanced stuff will come later down the road. In general, less is more with Claudio. The more situations and whatnot you can learn to use his powerful tools, the more success you'll have, rather than trying to use every move in his kit and be flashy. It's just not really what he's all about. While he is very anime with the Starburst mode, he just does not have the flashy mix-up that you may be looking for out of a character such as Claudio. Claudio has great neutral control with the likes of back 1 as the go-to mid. It's considered one of the best mids in the game. When you decide you want to approach, he has while running 2 or forward 4. So he's a great approach game and approach tools. He's incredibly invasive. Even though he's tall and lanky, a lot of his moves have inherent tech crouch, if not full crouching capabilities, as well as airborne. His hop kick is one of the best in the game, and of course that is an airborne attack. He has his up forward 2, which is a safe mid heat engager, also airborne. You have your down 1+2, this is evasive. Your down back 1+2, this is evasive. And a whole plethora of other tools at your disposal for evasion. He has some of, if not the longest range in the game, at least with the base roster of Tekken 8. In Tekken 7, he was contested by the likes of Jack or Marduk or Gigas, but it seems as though Jack's range has been reduced ever so slightly in Tekken 8, so Claudio does seem to come out on top in terms of range, particularly with his pokes. Again, down forward 4 being the best example visually of Claudio's effective game space and the space he can control on a whim. His wall game is ridiculous, arguably top 3, maybe top 5 if you want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But honestly, his wall game is cooking. You use down forward 3 and those extensions. You of course have sidestep 4, forward 4, back 1, and again, his evasion really helps at the wall when opponents try to jab out of your pressure. He doesn't have high execution whatsoever. I would argue he's one of the lowest execution characters Tekken's ever seen. Again, especially in Tekken 8, as they have homogenized a lot of his combo routes. At least, again, day 1 from what I know and found. Maybe we'll find other stuff later, but you can play a very homogenized combo style Claudio and see no downfall or issue with that at all. Starburst is fun. It adds a powerful, fun minigame. This is actually what got me into Claudio in the first place back in Tekken 7. I really enjoy this aspect of the character as it does give him additional tools on a whim, and I just find it very fun. It turns moves that are useless to be some of the best he has, such as forward 1+2, 1+2, being probably the #1 benefactor of Starburst amongst other things he has. And lastly, in terms of notable strengths, I'd say the heat mechanic. So he benefits the most from heat mechanic, or at least is one of the characters who benefits the most, as he gets permanent starburst state while in heat. So you can just keep doing these starburst attacks, and then when he comes out of heat, he also retains starburst as well. So I'll just use heat smash here, and you'll see that I still retain starburst. So this is very, very good. So even though the heat gauge may run out, you still end up having the power that heat granted you, essentially, in a nutshell. And on top of that, his heat smash is one of the few in the game, as I think there's only 2 or 3 on launch here, that's actually a low. And lows is where Claudio really struggles, and so giving him a nice 40 damage chunky hell sweep that wall breaks is no joke at all, and cannot be undermined. Claudio has an awful selection of lows. Most of them are launch punishable or very high risk, low reward. And I just want to demonstrate that for you. So down 4, launch punishable. Down back 4 is 0 reward, as it only does 7 damage. You have down back 4-3, if that's blocked or ducked, you're being launched for it. You have down 3, which is launch punishable. You have down back 3, launch punishable. And you kind of see the trend here with his lows. So the only lows he has that aren't death on block, but they're very terrible reward and or slow, is sidestep 4. This is his best low by far. -12 on block, on hit, +6. This is great at the wall. It's good to mix with sidestep back 1, or if you're really feeling it, sidestep hop kick. But this low in general, because it is 20 startup and it comes out of a sidestep, this move is more like 26 frames or slower, give or take, depending on the situation. And his other one, which was a change from Tekken 7 to Tekken 8, which I actually prefer this, is his down 2, right? So this move here on block, it is -11, but you wouldn't do this just by itself, you'd commit. And when you do commit, it is not launch punishable as it's only -13. And he is crouching, and while that may not seem significant, there are some matchups and characters that have wall rising high punishers, and Claudio will inherently evade those. So while niche, it is important to, I guess, know as the opponent. This low does a meager 14 damage. It's -1 on block or on hit, pardon me, and it leaves Claudio in a crouched position, which is not very good for him either, as his crouched options are pretty bad, save for his while crouching 2-1, which is the same as his down back 2-1. But that's a different conversation. So Claudio lows, pretty awful, I must say. In general, you'll find yourself using sidestep 4 a lot, down back 4-3 just to control the neutral, as the range on this is crazy, and it leaves him at 0 and a really good range. So at this range, right, you can heat burst. If the opponent tries to retaliate and you backdash, it's a free whiff punish, right? You can do it again since it's 0. There's a bit of respect there from the opponent. His limbs in general quite lengthy. I've been using down forward 4 as my reference points. You can see here down forward 4 will reach. You can loop it, right? Or you can go mid, right? Maybe 2-1 high mid. and so on and so forth. So this low, while it is high risk, low reward, because his lows are so bad, opponents are less inclined to duck Claudio in general, and you'll notice a trend that if the lows aren't super threatening, that's what opens up the while running to. Is while running to very, very, very good move in general. Spammable, right? +6 on block. This is the only thing you'd want to duck Claudio for, in all honesty. No throw mix whatsoever. He doesn't even have a side swap on break, so you may notice that some characters, once you break their grabs, you end up swapping sides. You can use this tech to get your back away from a wall and or put the opponent's back to a wall. Claudio doesn't have this, and his generic throws are quite bad on top of his command throw. He only has one command throw input, and that's 1+2 break. It's this right here. For a meager 40 damage, basically no Oki as it's only +1. He's not really at a good range to do anything. It doesn't even give him Starburst. At least if this gave Starburst, it would be actually quite serviceable. I'd be happy with it, but alas, no Starburst. This is his first generic throw, right? Again, no Oki, pitiful damage. Granted, it is a generic throw, +1, nothing crazy. And this one here, it grounds us both. It does have one caveat where even though you'll see here, if you look at the frames, it says 0, Claudio does get to act first. So in theory, if you and your opponent both took action at the same time, you would hit them first. But just assume that Claudio throw game is dog water, and you really are only looking to land throws on counter hit, as they're much more difficult to break, and or apply mental stack to the opponent and keep them on their toes. In general, his poke game up close specifically is quite mediocre in my opinion. Where he shines is more at this sort of range 1.7 to 2, right? And you can see at the bottom left of your screen there, that's what I'm talking about when I say distance. So again, down forward 4, great poke. You have his jab string. It is approaching, right? So he covers a lot of ground with it. Quite nice, even if you whiff the first one. It does have solid tracking to his right, but no generic down forward 1, which is the typical frame data. He doesn't have that. Instead, we have back 3. Back 3 on block is -4. The extension is punishable on block, and on counter hit, it doesn't give him anything anymore. Whereas in Tekken 7, this used to launch on counter hit, so it was actually a threat. But now, there's no real risk swinging here in the grand scheme of things. Other than that, again, because his lows are all death on block and very low reward on hit, he doesn't really have lows to mix in with mid or high pokes, and so realistically you can't play this range 0 game and expect to come out on top with Claudio. That's just not really going to happen against a competent opponent. Again, his jab is serviceable for sure, and the fact is back 3 is a mid 13 frame mid that's a knee means against characters that have parries that don't work against knees. Sure, it's nice, but you're not winning the frame game, right? There's no way Claudio's going to keep pressuring you with pokes. It's just not what he does. I mean, you can try, but you'll notice there's a lot of risk and no reward to do so. So in general, you want to play, just to give you a reference point, about a single backdash away from the opponent, if not greater. In general, if you can hit back 1, you're at a good range for Claudio. If you can't hit back 1, you're too far away, and you want to try to play at tipper back 1 range in general. And you can see here the range on this is about, let's say 2.4, give or take. So you want to play around here as Claudio. He doesn't have very good Oki game either. In general, even at the wall, his Oki game's not very good. Not much to say on this note. He used to have this, which picked up back in Tekken 7. No longer does it do that, so if the opponent is grounded, he can't pick up off of this. So you used to be able to do this and do a combo. It doesn't work anymore. So you can be cheeky, down back 3, counter hit, dash up forward 4, 3+4. No longer picks up. That tech is totally gone. And so, not very good Oki in general. This is punishable on block, -11. So even that's not very good. So not great. However, he does have Starburst to make up for this. And I consider this a make up for situation because his combo damage gains so much more damage, or I'm sorry, his combo damage skyrockets with Starburst, as well as his neutral game pretty much becomes, honestly 5 times stronger just because of forward 1+2 alone. So I'll take the no Oki for Starburst in my opinion. Claudio doesn't have very good counter hits either. He also doesn't have very good frame traps. He does have setups into, say, down back 1+2 or down 1+2 for evasion to catch jabs, but in reality, these are both punishable, and specifically the shoulder, this is death on block at -18. But his counter hit game, it's okay. I mean, if you land forward 3, you do get some extensions here, right? You get 3-2, so that's super nice. If you land counter hit 4-3, right, same thing. And if you happen to have Starburst, and you land that, right? So not bad, not bad. The problem with both of these moves is that this is his Magic 4 series, and this is not a jailing string at all. So if the opponent blocks the first, they conduct the second, and there's no mid option here either. And forward 3 is a good move, I must admit, but not exactly the strongest counter hit threat at 18 frames, and a high no less. Your go-to counter hit tool with Claudio, realistically, is going to be down forward 2. Down forward 2 is a 14 frame mid. On just regular hit, it's serviceable at +5, and it leaves them at pretty solid range, right? 1.8, so if they try to swing, we can backdash. And it does have tech crouching frames as well, which is super awesome. On block, -13, not the worst thing in the world. And so it's pretty good. And when you do land it, full combo. For example. So really, really solid counter hit, to be honest, but it is punishable on block. Do keep that in mind. So you can't just be spamming this all the time. But you can definitely try to set up into it, again, because it has tech crouching frames. You can definitely use this to your advantage. And that's pretty well, that and this are your only counter hit tools you'll be using, to be totally honest with you. And last up for weaknesses, he doesn't really have a good mix-up game or can string mix-ups, which again forces a more fundamental approach. And what I mean by this is, he does have a jab string, but there's no mid here. He has a low, but the problem with his low is it's not a natural combo. This is more to chip out a round, right? A lot of characters have this. It pretty much serves the same function, but this isn't a mix-up, because the high jails and the high-low does not. So even on hit, the opponent can just always default to ducking your jab, and sure, you might be able to get cheeky with single jab knee, but that's all just neither here nor there. The only high mid he really has that's up close and personal and poke related would just be his 2-1. The problem with his 2-1 is that it actually has a gap. So if a character has a parry and they recognize that you're doing 2 instead of 1, they can just parry here and they'll catch it every time, or a Tsubaki, same thing. So do keep that in mind. In general, very poor mix, again, except for the wall where sidestep 4 or sidestep back 1 is actually very real. Sidestep 4, pretty chunky low, good frames, so it's worth considering to block, but in reality, you know, if you want Claudio to have mix, I'll be honest with you, we need to have heat to do that. And that's because then, at the very least, this is a 40 damage low, hell sweep, unseeable, and on block, it's not even that bad. -14. So, not the end of the world against most of the cast, especially because it's low mid. And that's worth mentioning because some characters have 14 frame while rising launchers, but because it's a mid, you have to use a 14 frame standing. So, not the worst thing in the world. This is realistically just one approach to Claudio. These are just general things to maybe use or pilot him with. And this isn't everything I do. I just thought I'd make some quick notes and reference some things that I like to do as Claudio. So in general, the game plan is to whiff punish and control space with back 1, right? And whiff punish with the likes of down forward 1-2, or hop kick, or at really great ranges 1+2, 1+2, right about here. And you can use this to get a free starburst, right? And then whiff punish, or I'm sorry, control space back 1. This is, you know, very classic. This move does everything. -5 on block, meaning that even on block and the range it leaves you at, you still get to take your turn here. The opponent can't reach you with most jabs, realistically. And because it's -5, you can just backdash, and anything they do will whiff, which of course opens up for another whiff punish. So back 1, not only is it an incredible move, but it also keeps you playing this whiff punish game plan. And remember, I was saying at the beginning with strengths and weaknesses, this poke game's kind of mediocre. The moment you land a back 1, even on block, all of a sudden you reset neutral if you so choose, right? So I will find myself doing this a lot. Like, oh, I don't want to be at this range 0. Let's get a cheeky knee or two, back 1, and get out of there. That's just what I prefer to do. In general, poking with Claudio is not great at range 0, and you want to stay at this range anyhow. So again, down forward 4, pretty solid move. Can't go wrong there. Back 3, pretty solid mid when it works and when it's the right time. And when you decide, all right, they're turtling up, or I need to close the round out, or I want to gain space, you of course go in with the likes of forward 4, dash up back 1, or while running 2. So again, forward 4, right, dash up back 1, or while running 2. And those are your sort of go-to, if you will, approach options in general. In terms of lows, quite limited. I did talk about this in the weaknesses section, but in general, you're sticking to sidestep 4 or down back 4-3 as sort of your go-to quote-unquote strong lows, because this, similar to back 1, does reset the neutral at 0 on hit, but it leaves you at a favorable range as Claudio in most matchups at the very least. And at the wall, Claudio is very good. You want to enforce a game plan with down forward 3. 14 frame, -7 on block, but what you can do here is you can heavily delay this string with the 1 mid follow-up, -12, or the 2 follow-up, -2. This is a frame trap. You can do this into this, and if they swing, you'll land a counter hit launcher. So just to demonstrate that without messing around with too many settings, right? They block this, and let's say you do this right after, free combo, right? And so on and so forth. So that's a really solid way to use this at the wall. And this down forward 3-1, it is totally hit confirmable, right? You can delay this for 100 years. Try it for yourself if you don't believe me, right? You can see here Claudio's pulling his leg back before I even commit to the 1, and this will start your wall combos as well, or again set up balcony breaks if you're in that situation as well. In general, you're looking to use heat and starburst to control the neutral. It's not impossible to use in combos by any means, right? As typical starburst does something of that nature. But the problem is, it's just not that good in combos for Claudio. Now, obviously, you can still use it to get incredible wall carry and go wall to wall on any stage, obviously. But that's universal. I'm not really including that. But some characters greatly benefit from heat burst in their combos. For example, say if you have an electric and you do multiple electrics, but you're too far for your good spins, so instead you heat and then use your heat burst as your first spin and you save your second one, right? You can definitely play around with it, but in my opinion, his heat is better used by landing an Ira, right? I'll be honest, you'll probably notice as a Claudio, this will be the most common way you get your heat, because heat engages are automatic, right? So you land a single while running 2, oh, I have heat, now it's my turn, or my mix-up rather. Alternatively, as a block punish or whiff punish, you can use this as your 14 frame. You'll see here that it is mid-high. It does not jail though, so do keep that in mind. But as a block punish or whiff punish, 14 frame heat engager, pretty solid in general. But again, this will be the most common way you get heat, in my opinion. Or if you want to use raw heat burst as a defensive option, obviously very good. But again, universal, not unique to Claudio whatsoever. And with that said, I'm going to transition just to the heat system and talk a little bit about it. So for Claudio, when he's in heat, he gains access to permanent starburst. This is important. You get about 3 or 4 starburst attacks depending on how many you get. So there I had 2. And then of course you maintain that last starburst, so there's 3. It's quite strong. Again, he does get the low heat smash. This is super important, as it does balcony break, wall splat for some extra damage. No follow-up though. It's unseeable. It's very, very good. The moment you're in heat as Claudio, everyone will be thinking about this pretty much forever. I don't see this not being a consideration from the opponent, which of course opens up forward 1+2, 1+2, right? One of his best combo starters, if not his best, right? So this is worth mentioning for sure. It buffs his combo game, it buffs his neutral game, it buffs his defensive game, it buffs his offensive game. His heat really does everything, and because Starburst does everything. This move goes from being punishable on block to -2. Or likewise, this string goes from being punishable on block to -1, and it forces crouch. All these things are so big for Claudio, right? -2, -2, and very evasive. This thing's like a DP, to be honest with you. So, very, very strong heat in general. Now, as heat engagers, I want to mention them. There are only 5 for Claudio, and I'll give you just a quick reason to use them all. It's 2-1-2, right? Not a natural combo, as you see right there. So instead, what you can do is end combos with it. Just for example, right? This will also give Starburst. It never used to in Tekken 7. So in order to land this as a heat engager, I don't really see this ever happening, if I'm going to be honest with you. -13 on block, not really worth the risk unless you're really being cheeky. Now, what I've did, back in the beta and it worked there, so I think this is more of an early knowledge check thing, right? Again, day 1, week 1 stuff, beta stuff, is I would do 2-1 into down back 4-3. Now, the only reason I flexed this was because I wanted them to get used to me going low here, and so I'd start doing 2-1, down back 4, no 3 to see if they ducked, and then the moment they ducked, I would do this for the extra hit as well as the heat engager, right? So then I'd get this situation. Again, cheeky. I don't recommend it as a habit, but it is worth mentioning that 2-1-2 if the third hit connects, it is indeed a heat engager, but it's not very good. Other than, again, to give Starburst at the end of combos or at the end of wall combos specifically. 3-2. Again, I talked about this briefly, but it's his I-14 punish. It gives heat, which thereby gives Starburst. Also usable in combo filler with heat or Starburst, but of course it's not a heat engager mid-combo. So quite good, and you can use it as a block or a whiff punished if you just want a quick use of heat, because when it comes to Claudio's whiff punishment or heat engagers, he doesn't really have a quick one to just give free heat other than this. Now you might say, well, what while running 2? Well, you're not really going to whiff punish with while running 2. And he does have back 2, which is the next one I'm going to talk about. But again, it's 17 frames, it's not super quick, so instead you're probably going to just whiff punish with this if you want the heat in general. So again, that said, back 4-2. Back 4-2 is good because back 4 is good. Back 4 is good because, it is -14 on block, but you have 3 different options here. You have back 4-1. This is a high. It is duckable, and natural combo, as you see here, right? Now on block, does chip, +1. It's 5 chip, but it's better than 0 chip. And because it's +1, it allows Claudio to retake his turn, much like into a jab, right? You have back 4-2, and all of these are delayable, by the way. Back 4-2 gives heat, or it's a heat engager, and otherwise it gives Starburst if it's used at the end of a combo. And back 4-2, while punishable, it's only -11, so really little to no threat at all. And then you have back 4-4. This is a bit more punishable at -13, but heavily delayable, and if the second hit connects, it is a full combo, so you can sort of bait the opponent with things, whatever you want, really, right? So something, all right, if I could ever land a combo. There we go. Right, so full combo there. Back 4. Great strings, much safer in this game, much more useful in this game than Tekken 7. No complaints there from me. And again, pretty solid heat engager, I must say, just in general. Next one, in second to last one here, up forward 2. Up forward 2 is a new move for Claudio. It used to be a similar animation, but what it used to do is force crouch. It used to be plus on block, now it is -8 on block. But it's lightning fast. It's used to jump over lows for no risk, again adding to this more evasive element that I discussed in his strengths, rather than committing to hop kick, which you pretty much had to do it back in Tekken 7. Now he does still have up forward 3. This is plus on block. It used to counter a hit launch in Tekken 7, no longer. So this move here, up forward 2, is your sort of, I read you're going to go low, and it's a good heat engage. So very, very solid. And it's also your floor break in mid combos. That's worth mentioning as well if you don't commit to this. But again, throwing in tidbits, you don't need to know this. Moving on. While running 2 is his last one. Not much to say here. The move is amazing. It gives just another reason to respect the Superman Punch, or IRA is the name of the move. IRA. IRA, whatever. And you mix it in with back 1. and forward, forward, 4 for pressure as well, or approach. Lastly, his heat in general, his heat smash, again, very, very solid move. It gives him a solid threatening low, which he does not have normally. 40 damage, low mid, minus 14 on block. It does wall splat, it does wall break, it does balcony break. It does everything. So this is essentially a combo starter at balcony edge, which is ridiculous. It's so good. So that's Claudio's heat. Worth keeping in mind that it gives him permanent starburst. I cannot stress that enough. It makes some combos only possible in heat, and I know you could say that about every character, but especially Claudio, who has multiple starburst combo filler routes, and because that Hell Sweep breaks walls, you can end combos with it. You can end, or not end, but you can use it after spins, for example. Right? And it doesn't really scale that hard either, which is worth mentioning as well. Very, very good. Heat. Claudio in heat is very good, and the chip damage he gains is very, very good as well. Is just such a strong character in heat. Cannot be overstated. Really, it's so strong. So main launchers, I'm just going to rip right through them. And when I say main, I'm just going to give you an off example. I'm not talking about back 4-4. Because landing that as a launcher is very niche. It's very gimmicky. You have to sort of enforce it. So his main launchers are up forward 4. This is one of the better hop kicks in the game. It's one of his best moves. Cannot be overlooked at all. Minus 13, 15 frames. Very, very, very good move in general. And for what it's worth, back in Tekken 7, doing this link, hop kick into forward, forward, 4, used to be trickier, especially online. Now, it seems as though they've made forward, forward, 4 land better in general, so don't be afraid to go into forward, forward, 4 now, whereas previously you may have considered not doing so. Down 4-1-2, this is pretty solid. It's just a blocker with punish. I would not recommend throwing this out as a mix-up because it is launch punishable itself on block. So even though you may be tempted, I would not start the habit. His down forward 1 is serviceable. It does tech crouch, but I really would not recommend committing to the 2 unless you are so sure that it's going to work. I like to use this after a sidestep, right? So I sidestep a jab or a more linear poke. Boom, down forward 1-2. The reason why I like this is because hop kick after sidestep can sometimes get the side of the opponent, like say this, which leads to very awkward combos, especially as Claudio. So you pretty much are stuck doing this just to get a semi-consistent splat. And that kind of sucks. Whereas a sidestep down forward 1-2, it helps sort of give you extra damage, even though you have to go into those wonky combos, right? So you may do something like down forward 1-2, back 2, right? 62 damage versus same combo, 50 damage. So down forward 1-2, when you know it's going to work, it's the best one you can commit to. Then next would be forward 3+4. This is new for Claudio. This move is insane. Back in Tekken 7, this move was borderline useless. It was a homing back in 7. It's no longer homing, but it does track to one side. As you can see, it's safe on block at -8. It is a high, and it has okay range, right? And by okay, I mean it goes across the entire screen. So this is great. Now you might think, what are you talking about, Zedd? This ain't a freaking launcher. Well, yes, sir, it is. That's real. That's true. So forward 3+4 into down back 1+2 into full combo. Like that, and I drop it, but you get the idea. So super good. Tracking, safe launcher, something Claudio has never had, or he never had back in Tekken 7 without Starburst at least. And so now he has it, which can't complain there. There we go. Speaking of Starburst, in Starburst, you of course have forward 1+2, 1+2. This move really needs no explanation. This thing is insane. It is a safe on block. I dropped the combo. It's a safe on block mix-up, right? So -9 as you see there. You can delay it heavily, which can be quite good if you want to catch the opponent out, and or if you want to intentionally whiff. So Sam about here. Oh no, I whiffed. Right? Next time, you just commit. Right? Now, I want to mention quickly that if a character does have a parry, they can parry if you delay at all. So say if I do this, that's parryable. But if I just commit, not parryable. So do keep that in mind in matchups like, say, Asuka or Jin or Hwoarang or June, right? Just keep it in mind that you probably want to just commit to it. It's not worth the risk of getting parried. Unless you're super mega brain and you just do single, they parry, and then you hop kick or something cheeky, but that's neither here nor there. Next up would be his while standing 2. This launcher is quite good. It's his only while rising launcher if you don't want to commit to just a standing hop kick, right? Give Starburst. This is worth mentioning because you can do stuff like this, right? As I drop it. As I drop it. I'll just do the easy version. There you go. So you can land the 3-2 right off of while standing 2 always, if you want to. So that's really, really good. Not much to say there. And lastly, for main launchers, I mentioned it earlier, but you're looking at counter head down forward 2. Very good. Very, very good move in general. Gives really, really beefy damage at 73. That's just a basic B&B as well. Very strong move, very strong launcher. Do keep down forward 2 in mind, and you'll see success with it, I'm sure. These are just my list of sort of main Claudio moves that if you can get a grip on these, 15 or so moves, you'll really understand the character and be able to use him to his fullest, in my opinion. Like I mentioned in the overview and intro section, less is more with this character, and he has few strong tools are usable in majority of situations. So first up, we of course have typical jab string, right? 1-2 is what I'm talking about here. Not so much the 1-3. It's alright, but not, it's cheeky, right? It's a round ender. So 1-2, pretty typical. Nothing to say here. -3 on block, which is new for Tekken 8 versus Tekken 7. It has good range in general, good tracking to his right side, so worth mentioning. Not much to say, but it is a key move. It is something you want to use, and yeah, it enforces his game plan up close. Coinciding with that, you have your mid poke, which is down, or not down forward 1. You have back 3, which is like a down forward 1. 13 frame, knee, -4. Does have an extension if you want to, which is down back, or back 3, 3. Now you noted that you do have to do back 3, neutral 3, whereas in previous game, or Tekken 7, you could just hold back, but it doesn't work. You'll have to actually let go of back here. Small detail worth mentioning. Down forward 4, next key move. This mid poke is insane, 13 frames. Yes, that is 13 frames at that range. It's disgusting. It's one of, if not the fastest move at this range. Really, really amazing for round start. So right, this is the round start distance. Boom. I catch people with this every single time. And on block, it's pretty alright too, at only -8. But because it's -8 with such godly range, you can still move and take your turn as you see fit. Super, super good. Not enough Claudios use this in my opinion. Down forward 3, I talked about this a little bit with his wall game, but the move alone and or the extensions off of it, very, very good. It is one of your 14 frame punishers alongside 3-2. And as you can see there, right, you can do this as a punish to wall splat, balcony break, etc. You can do this if you want to stay close and get good frame advantage at +4. If you're in heat and you do this as a punish, you can be cheeky and try to end with a low mid mix up. Really, really solid move for sure. Back 4 move is very, very good. Has a 3 or rather 2-way mix up, but it's very good. The range on this move is insane, right? You have 2.6, 2.8, not quite. 2.7, right? 2.7 range. Can not hit confirm, but you can basically counter hit fish with the launcher part of it, right? Super good. You can do this as a heat engager / starburst. You can do this for chip damage and plus frames on block. I love this. I love this move so much. Very, very strong. Down back 4-3. It's a quick low. Good frames. Good range on hit. Very, very strong. One of your better lows. In tandem with that, sidestep 4. Your other good low. Very, very good. Can't go wrong with this low if you're given the respect to use it. Back 1. This move could just be rated the best mid in the game in some, communities. In Tekken 7, it used to screw on air hit, right? So if you did this, it would screw. No longer does it do that, so small nerf. By small nerf, I mean pretty insignificant nerf in general. The move is still insanely good. Great on block, lets you backdash any retaliation, and -5. Great at the wall. Slightly tech crouches, not as much as it looks, but it does tech duck quite high highs or higher mids. Believe it or not, I've even seen this tech crouch Hwarang's palm counter hit, right? So that's been super fun at times. While running 2, very good. This move pretty much is what everyone knows Claudio for at this point. If it's not back 1, it's this, right? This move does chip damage. It's super flashy, +6 on block, and just incredible to carry to the wall. It's your combo ender. It's your approach tool. It's your I'm gonna get in there real quick button. It's so good, so good. And to mix up with that, forward 4. Forward 4 is very good because on regular hit it's +6. It no longer knocks down, but instead on counter hit +13. So on counter hit we get to do that for free. For example, we can do this for free. Right, for the wall splat. Very, very good move. I think the Tekken 8 iteration is better. Some people argue that. They think the knockdown is better. I disagree. I think the Tekken 8 version is better because in Tekken 7, on block, this was -8 or -9, something like that. In Tekken 8, it's -1, which means you can now use this and set up things, even on block, whereas previously you had to pretty much give up your turn or go for an armor move here. Next up would be his hop kick. His hop kick, very good. Not much to say here. It's just got great range, good recovery. It's very evasive. It's like a super tech crouch for a few frames into a tech jump. So that's very, very good. Forward 3. This move was alright in Tekken 7. It's now very good in Tekken 8. On regular hit, it's +15. No guaranteed follow-ups, but on counter hit, +14 into guaranteed follow-ups, which cannot be, overstated how good this is. So that's super strong. Tech jumps, homing, high, and then on block, you'll see here 0. So you can, again, use this to set moves up. Very, very good in general to fish with. If you want a safe counter hit option, this is the go-to. Starburst, forward 1+2, 1+2. Talked about this already, but this is a safe mid launcher, mega tech crouch. It's your 17 frame punish as well if the situation ever comes. It's your whiff punish against slower attacks. It's his best launcher, I believe, in terms of the damage output, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 76 just off basic BMB. Nothing crazy, but still super strong. Down back 1+2. I list this as a key move in my opinion. It's new to him in Tekken 8. It's -12 on block. It's basically a DP. On regular hit, it's nothing really to write home about, but on counter hit, full combo, right? So very, very good. And in Starburst, on block, totally safe at -2. And then if it does land on normal hit in Starburst, full combo as well. So very, very good button. Pretty much killed this button other than specific frame trap situations, in my opinion. And then lastly, back 1+2. This, I picked this as a top move, but every character has an armor move. It's just Claudio's is quite special in that there are so many ways to set it up. It is -13 on block unless you block him, or rather absorb a move, and then the opponent gets, or blocks the attack, then it's safe at -9. What's good about it for Claudio is that it works in tandem with the rest of his wall game, which again is its own video, its own discussion, but you use this and it actually re-wall splats. Not every armor move does, so it is worth mentioning that at the wall you can use this to re-splat into full extension for absurd damage. It's very, very good. And then going right from key moves to his punishment, really quick, just this is for your frame of reference. I'd probably go to the document for this one, but we have real quick standing 10 frame, 1-2, standing 12 frame, 4-3, or forward 2-2, or if you're in Starburst or Heat, standing 4-2. This move is good if their back is to a wall or you just need to close out the round. It does wall splat, it does balcony break. Very, very good as a punish. 13 frame, down 1+2. That's pretty well your go-to 13 frame. 14 frame, you have down forward 3-1. You also have standing 3-2. 15 frame, up forward 4, or down forward 1, 2. Down forward 1, 2 is the better of the two, but hop kick is sometimes easier to react with. And it does have a little bit more range on that first hit, so you can kind of get away with it better at more ranges. And it's better from crouch as well, but that's neither here nor there. 16 frame, excuse me, I said it was 17 earlier in the video. This is 16 frames, my apologies. And so that's super good, 16 frames. And lastly, 17 frames, you have 1 plus 2, 1 plus 2, back forward 2. Or, as a punish, starburst, down back 1 plus 2. This is also 17 frames, so this is your 17 frame combo. There will be niche moments where this is better than, say, hop kick, but I can't see you really using either of these as straight up block punishers, but worth mentioning nonetheless. And for crouch, while you're crouching, so you block a low, right? 10 frame, we have full crouch down 1. Nothing crazy here whatsoever. 11 frame while standing 4. 12 frame while standing 1, while standing 1, 1. Or starburst only, or heat while standing 1, 2. This is actually very, very good because it will wall splat or balcony break, or rather leads to balcony break. So when you have starburst, if you're fighting a character with good lows or an opponent who likes to low, don't be afraid to block that. And then don't default to while standing 4. Try to default to while standing 1, 2, again with starburst only, as this is a much higher reward option. No 13 frame crouching punish, that's unique. 14 frame, we have down forward 2, 1 plus 2. That's this right here. The reason why you go with that as opposed to this is because this is pretty meaningless comparatively. So this would be your go-to. It gives starburst, it does wall splat, so it's quite nice. And at 15 frames, we can either hop kick, because that's an up forward motion, right? Or we can just do while standing 2. Again, very, very good option, as it does give us, starburst filler combo. So that's worth mentioning. Like so, just for example. And that's Claudio's punishment. So in this video, I'm only going to show a few of the documents that I have. It's only going to be the bolded ones, so I'm going to demonstrate the ones that I believe are the most important to learn and the only ones that you really need to just default to when you're learning the character. But again, please reference the document linked in the description. It'll have way more combos than I'm going to show you here. It's not all of his combos by any means, but they're still good to know when you're learning the character, but for sake of video, I'm just going to show you the key ones in my opinion. There you have it. That is pretty well the Claudio guide I have for day 1. All timestamps and everything should be in the description if I did it all correctly. Documentation that you need will be below as well. In general, just as a quick conclusion, I do think that Claudio is capable in all matchups and situations. I've thought this in Tekken 7. I still think this in Tekken 8, even with all my time so far on the first day as well as the betas. Again, to recap, because he doesn't have great mix-ups or throw game, you are going to have to be very capable with a couple fundamental tools. This, in my opinion, will inevitably make your decision making better. It'll also allow you to focus on what the opponent is doing more than what you're doing, as opposed to, say, if you play a character like Xiao Yu or Huarang or Yoshimitsu. They're a lot more difficult to navigate as the pilot, which of course puts a lot more pressure on you. So at least for me, I find it easier and better to have less decision making on my end and just know, okay, my one option beats their 5 rather than my 5 options beat their 5. Right? This is just a personal preference thing. I'll make another version of this if there's significant changes. I'll make separate videos for wall game and combos and this and that, but if there's enough to justify a new guide, or rather when there's an update, I will definitely revise this as I see fit. But otherwise, if you like the content or you like the document, I'd appreciate following socials or see me in my Twitch chat, say hi. I appreciate you all. And otherwise, I'll see you online. Let's battle it out, or I'll see you in chat. Have a good one and keep trucking on.